Hey, everybody, and welcome to a horror movie review with me, Haruko. Um, so a while back, um, I had heard that this particular movie, Speak No Evil, was getting remade, which is interesting because I guess the original movie is from 2022, and it's a Danish Dutch film of the same name. Um which I've actually watched the original and like it. There's a lot of very interesting things with it, to say the least, despite, it being a drama, a horror, a mystery, and a thriller. And if you want to watch it, you actually can. It's on like Shudder and Amazon and a lot of places. If you want to compare it to, say, the original. But we went and saw the 2024 edition, which came out 2 years later. And I really wanted to see this because I liked the original one, and Crash has a thing right now for James McAvoy. I just don't look too deep into it. He's got a type when it comes to guys and when it comes to men, and he likes, the ones that can play both a, you know, gritty sort of pseudo father figure in a post-apocalyptic world to now a just serial killer, basically. So, but speaking of evil, the 2024 edition. Um Normally Crash would have a lot more in-depth thoughts about a film, but it's weird because all I can say is I really like it up until the ending. That's about it. I know I have to fill up, 10 minutes, but I really do like the film. I like the original more, but I like what this one does compared to, say, the original, because there's just there's an eeriness to the original that really just can't be placed, whereas this one really focuses on building up the tension a lot more. It sends you into a false security of things, thinking, oh, everything's calm, everything's normal, everything's perfectly fine. And the remake was produced by Jason Blum, who's done a lot of horror stuff in the past. So, but we were surprised because, you know, Crash has never seen the original, like I said, and I have, and I got to actually compare this back to back, and for this one being not exactly a shot for shot retake of the original, but for it doing something a little different, where the original focuses more on the eeriness and the mystery and the thrill aspect of it, and definitely a lot of the horror. This one focuses more on the drama and the thriller aspect of it, where it's like it starts off way too normal for about almost half of the film, and with the touristy stuff and them getting to know the people while on vacation in Italy, and like the American family is invited over to stay at the remote farmhouse with the British couple, and they actually have a pretty decent weekend together, but then just a lot of like petty conflict starts to arise. and a lot of it starts to slowly seep in the level of discomfort that this one does versus, say, the original that, again, focuses on things from a different angle, but still really good. And I just really like how the tension builds up in this one. And, during the third act with this one definitely has a lot more of, okay, we're really building up the mystery as to why, say the kid is messed up, or say like, the family's messed up, or say why like the other American family's messed up. Like everybody's kind of at fault with each other and having conflict with one another and their interactions. The other film presents itself, the original, a little differently, but not in a bad way, in a way that really works. And it's weird and funny because, like, I feel like for how this one plays out, it's really good, but it's also very, like, how do I put this? Compared to the original, this one definitely, like, has a more, like, mental and psychotic atmosphere. And it just, you start to see everything take a sharp right turn at the third act. It doesn't build up to it in a sense that, like, a lot of it organically flows, like, say, the first one, which is my one negative. I really liked the way the first one sort of, like, really eased you more and more into the craziness and into the madness of all these people. But, like, this one really waits until the final act to be like, no, this is where we're finally going to let all things cut loose and show you how twisted both the families are, but really especially the British couple. So, and fair warning too, if you have a family member or a kid or a teenager or even just an adult who has, like, I want to say almost like, I don't want to say like, issues under the spectrum, if I'm saying the word correctly, but like if you have someone who is, let's say hypothetically, within that demographic under the spectrum, this movie would definitely make them feel a little more eerie and uncomfortable. So, but what was cool was that thanks to Crash's partnership with Synergy, the experience of seeing the movie was really cool. Like, we went to a special slasher screening thanks to Synergy, and we wound up getting a little trinket. We wound up getting some good food. We wound up doing some movie trivia beforehand. And, like, he took a photo. And just the whole experience was super fun. And I love going to the slasher screenings with him. They're super fun, especially because you get to see the movie at like 10 o'clock at night. There's barely anyone there except for maybe a few people. And you truly, like, feel the tension of the eeriness and the horror seep in late at night at a movie theater. So it's nice. But I gotta say this, and I'm gonna go over 10 minutes if you'll bear with me on this. Normally we try and keep it under 10 minutes, but he's not here, so it doesn't matter. I guess the pros would be that James McAvoy does a really great job. Jason Blum really produced and directed this thing like it was no tomorrow. The acting of all the characters does feel believable to an extent. And on top of that, like, just a lot of the subtle nuances definitely, like, rear its ugly head in a good way because it fits the tone of the film. But one really big negative, actually two big negatives, I feel like, again, compared to, say, the original film that came out, like, 2 years ago, I feel like there's an oversaturated amount of drama compared to the original. And I felt like they could have, you know, let some of the tension sort of organically flow a little more narratively, and on screen, compared to the original. And honestly, the ending. This is a film that, like, is pretty good, but the ending kind of botches it a little bit, for me at least. Crash said he liked the ending. Like, it wasn't like a great ending, but it was a decent ending because it was a conclusion to some degree. And to me, I was like, no, we really should have, like, seen the craziness, released a bit more gradually throughout the film. And I feel like the payoff of what happens to some of the characters and some of the people, without spoiling anything, really, I don't feel like the ending is earned, in my opinion. So, and it just kind of leaves it on a, like, okay, well, we experienced this was horrible, this was traumatizing, and just drive off into the sunset, and that's it, goodbye. Like, I don't know, it just didn't feel like it concluded in a very satisfying way for me. So, but despite that, still a good film. Not a great film, but a good film. A good film regardless. I would say, too, also that, like, there's a lot of back and forth between the family wanting to leave, the family staying, the family having conflict with the British family, them, trying to be humble and have them leave, and, them trying to convince them to stay. And it's, you really gotta have to, be okay with a lot of that bait and switch. And sometimes that works in a horror film, depending on how you do it, and I'm okay with it. But when it takes up kind of 2/3 of the movie, it's like, yeah. So, but, like, I don't know. I feel like the tense atmosphere and the situation escalates a lot more organically in the original compared to, say, this one. So I'll probably wind up having Crash actually watch the original at some point because it's only like 2 years old. And then you know we'll go for there. So we'll have to do like another, like, terror flicks for it or something, because there's so many horror films. It's not even funny. So, but I feel like he would like it. So, especially because it has such an interesting, like, production, you know, thing behind it. A little bit of a history behind it. Not a lot, but it's interesting. So, I don't know. He doesn't rate these films. I have no problem rating it, but I'll honor his rule system a little bit. I would say this is, for a remake of a film that's only 2 years old. It's a decent film. It's a good film. It's not a great film, But if you want something that definitely has a lot of drama and tension, and then sort of unpacks everything all at once at you for the third act, you'll like it. But just be warned that there's a bit of a bait and switch back and forth. It just, whereas the original has a lot more eeriness to it, I would say you'd be fine watching this on its own without watching the original, but do yourself a favor and watch the original and compare. So, anyhow, that about does it. So, hopefully Crash will be back soon, and, that's it. Bye.